The Art of Finding Flow, Damon Zahariades. Notable quotables about finding flow. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. The happiest people spend much time in a state of flow, the state in which people are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. The experience itself is so enjoyable that people will do it even at great cost for the sheer sake of doing it. Jack London, Call of the Wild. There is an ecstasy that marks the summit of life, and beyond which life cannot rise, and such is the paradox of living. This ecstasy comes when one is most alive, and it comes as a complete forgetfulness that one is alive. Alan Watts. This is the real secret of life, to be completely engaged with what you are doing in the here and now, and instead of calling it work, realize it is play. Introduction. You know the feeling. You've no doubt experienced it more than once. When it happens, it feels almost magical, surreal even, and it can seem like something vital is missing when it doesn't happen. I am, of course, referring to the feeling of working in a flow state. Everything else fades away when you're immersed in whatever you're doing. Your attentional resources are zeroed in upon the task at hand. You become hyper-focused. Most people believe that a flow state is a product of luck. It occurs when their muse visits them. They assume it's something over which they have no control. But that's incorrect. We can control numerous factors that allow us to achieve a flow state virtually at will, but we'll get to that later. I was introduced to flow when I was a kid. Back then, I swam competitively. For reasons still unclear, my coaches designated me the long-distance guy, putting me in events such as the 1500-meter freestyle. The training involved workouts that lasted hours. Flow rarely happens when you compete in short events. Example, the 50-meter freestyle. There's no time. You blink and the event is over. The lengthy events, however, something strange happens. The anxieties of the moment, is my rival keeping pace? I must hit this turn perfectly. They fade away. In its place is a kind of peacefulness. You enter the zone where every aspect of your performance breaks down into its simplest form. Stroke, kick, breathe. Even though you're exhausted and your muscles and lungs are screaming for relief, these actions seem easy. You're in complete control, which gives you a feeling of satisfaction, enjoyable even. Since that period, I've enjoyed working in a flow state over and over. I experienced it repeatedly while playing guitar, practicing and jamming with bandmates. I was in a garage band. I experienced it in corporate America while reviewing spreadsheets, and today I often work in the zone while writing. Here's the thing. I learned not to leave this to luck. I learned not to wait for my muse. Instead, I figured out a way to achieve a flow state at will. This brings us to the purpose of this book. I'll show you how to achieve a flow state in the following pages. Rather than leaving it to fate or your muse, you'll learn how to get into the zone whenever it suits you. Once you can do this, you'll reap benefits that may seem implausible now. But we'll get to that later too. Let's look at what you'll find in The Art of Finding the Flow. What you'll learn in The Art of Finding Flow. This book has a single overriding aim: to train you to achieve a flow state whenever desired. There are two approaches to accomplishing that goal. One involves plunging into the psychology of flow, This includes investigating how the brain works and developing a theoretical framework that supports our proposed methodologies. The second approach is to focus primarily on the practical aspects of flow. This includes examining how it works in the real world and exploring the steps needed to achieve it. I strongly favor this latter approach. If you prefer the former method, psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the father of flow psychology, has written several remarkably meticulous books on the subject. You'll notice that The Art of Finding Flow is a short book. That's by design. Every section is written to be immediately actionable or to support sections that are so. There's no fluff. That's the type of self-improvement book I enjoy reading, and I hope you do too. Here's a quick roadmap detailing what you'll find in the following pages. Part 1. We'll cover a few essential building blocks of achieving and using flow. To fully appreciate how flow can change our lives, we must first understand what it is. In Part 1, what is flow? We'll break down this positive psychological state into its simplest components. We'll scrub away the vapid claptrap that usually surrounds it and examine its essence. We'll explore the benefits of working in a flow state and discuss how we can use it in various aspects of our lives. Part 2. This is where the practical part of the training begins. Similar to how a mechanic must understand how a vehicle's components work together to affect its overall performance, we must understand how the many facets of flow do likewise. In Part 2, preparing to achieve flow, we'll talk about the effects of fear and how it can prevent you from getting in the zone. We'll explore circumstances that act as triggers to flow and how you can manage them. We'll also discuss things that will hamper your ability to achieve a flow state, so you'll be prepared to head them off before they cause problems. Part 3. This is the how-to part of the book. We'll roll up our sleeves and develop a system for getting into the zone. In Part 3, 10 steps to achieving a flow state. You'll learn a reliable method for triggering a flow state and taking full advantage of it. Each step is explained concisely and accompanied by a simple exercise. You may feel inspired to take notes and return to this section for a refresher. Part 5. The more we know about being in a flow state, the more effectively we'll be able to take advantage of it. Like a chef who fully appreciates the ingredients at his disposal, we'll expand our awareness of flow regarding our experience with it. In Part 5, greater awareness about your flow state. We'll discuss how to tell when you're in the zone. We'll also talk about remaining in this state when it suits you. Finally, we'll explore the dark side of flow, so you'll be fully prepared to prevent troublesome and often overlooked issues. Bonus section. Training ourselves to achieve flow at will is similar to training ourselves to perform any task successfully. Performing specific activities can hone our mindset. It can help us to create routines that work for us. Like an athlete trains to build endurance and increase strength, we can train ourselves to enter a flow state. When the time comes to do so, this training will streamline the process. The last section of The Art of Finding Flow will take you through 10 simple exercises. You can do them at any time that suits you. As with Part 3, you may feel inspired to return to this section repeatedly. The road forward. We have a lot to cover in the following pages, but I promise we'll cover it quickly so you can apply the information soon. Remember, this book aims to train you to get into the zone whenever desired. It prioritizes taking purposeful action to that end. One final note before we start. I strongly encourage you to perform the exercises you'll find throughout this book. They're simple, easy, and take little time. Time estimates are provided for each one so you can plan them around your schedule. The exercises continue to help me, and I feel they'll help you too. Onward. Part 1. What is flow? Achieving flow is commonly misunderstood to be a strategy to increase productivity. This misconception prevents people from enjoying its full range of benefits. While working in a flow state can make you more productive, the boost in productivity is merely a byproduct. It's not the main reason to achieve flow. The main reason to work in a flow state is that it makes us feel more engaged with whatever we do. When we're fully engaged, we feel more fulfilled, more satisfied, happier. These positive feelings enrich our daily experience in ways that many people overlook. Our lives feel more meaningful, our decisions and actions feel more purposeful and consequential. We enjoy a greater sense of ownership, empowerment, and personal agency. Ultimately, these feelings can inspire us to accomplish remarkable things in our lives, and importantly, to do so with more joy and gratification. The essence of flow. At its simplest, flow is a state of total mental absorption. Our entire inventory of attentional resources is zeroed in on our current activity. Whatever we're doing it with complete immersion and at peak performance. Athletes have described flow as a state where they feel calm and energized, even as their bodies are under great stress. Students describe flow as becoming hyper-aware of the subject matter they're studying, while losing awareness of their environment. Artists describe flow as an almost trance-like state, where they can create art effortlessly and without inhibition. But this doesn't mean that working in a flow state is easy. We often experience the best results when we push ourselves to the limits of our abilities and tolerance for discomfort. Flow requires a challenge. The positive feelings from working in a flow state stem from overcoming a challenging task. If a task is easy, accomplishing it won't feel rewarding beyond crossing it off our to-do list. It's undemanding. It's unlikely to engage us. People who regularly achieve flow report that they feel most energized when doing something difficult for them. For example, athletes in the zone push their bodies to the limits of their endurance. Students struggle as they mentally grasp and master complex concepts. Artists wrestle with their inner critics, fighting to silence them. It's in the midst of these challenging circumstances that a flow state becomes attainable. The difficulty involved in whatever we're doing increases our absorption and sharpens our focus to the point that everything else fades into the background. The upside is that we'll likely feel a greater sense of engagement once we induce flow. The sweet spot of flow. It's not enough to be confronted with a challenge. We must also possess the requisite skills needed to rise to it. Moreover, our skill set should be in balance with the challenge. If we lack the skills needed to meet the challenge, we're likely to feel stressed and frustrated. On the other hand, if we think that we possess skills that greatly exceed the challenge, we're likely to feel bored. Neither of these feelings is conducive to working in a flow state. When there's a proper balance between our skills and the tasks that interest us, we simultaneously experience a sense of control and stimulation. We feel that we're up to the challenge rather than feeling anxious or apathetic. We're excited, inspired even, to roll up our sleeves and tackle the task. Flow versus hyperfocus. Before we move on, we must distinguish working in a flow state from hyperfocus. The two are often conflated, and it's worthwhile to recognize their differences. We've already described flow. We've discussed what it is and how it feels to work in this state of consciousness. It's a desired state that can be triggered and harnessed to benefit us. Hyperfocus is different. It typically stems from an inability to manage attentional resources. A person experiences hyperfocus is consumed by whatever task holds their attention. For example, a child may be so spellbound by a video game that they can't hear people calling their name. An adult might be so fixated on a home improvement project that they forget meals and miss appointments. This might seem similar to flow, but is associated with impulsiveness and a lack of emotional control. Hyperfocus is often discussed in the context of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. While it may share some attributes with flow on the surface, its underlying triggers differ. Most importantly, hyperfocus can pose adverse effects that have severe consequences if left unmanaged. This book focuses on flow, including achieving and making the most of it. To that end, we'll abandon the subject of hyperfocus here. The 7 life-changing benefits of achieving flow. As mentioned, we often think of working in flow as a means of being more productive. We'll get more done if we're so focused on our work that we're completely immersed and engaged. This is true to some degree, but we can harness myriad other rewards by working in a flow state. If we fixate on increased productivity, we risk overlooking these other perks. Here are 7 reasons to learn how to trigger this positive mental state to fully appreciate everything we stand to gain. Benefit number 1, greater creativity. 2 of the most common obstacles to creativity are fear and self-consciousness. Whether we're trying to paint a landscape, write a novel, or come up with out-of-the-box solutions to a problem at work, we worry about our output. Will it be good? Will it meet others' expectations? Will it meet our expectations? Can we do it better? When we're in the zone, we're less fearful and self-conscious. We're less anxious about our results because we focus on the creative experience. Benefit number 2, immunity to distractions. We're susceptible to internal and external distractions whenever we work on a task that fails to interest us and captivate our attention. Internal distractions include everything in our heads, such as self-doubt and mind-wandering. External distractions include anything in our immediate environment, such as social media, our phones, and our co-workers' conversations. When we work in a flow state, these distractions fade away. They're still present, but we no longer notice them. We're no longer aware of them and thus susceptible to them. Benefit 3, faster learning and mastery. Most of us aspire to be faster learners. Picking things up quickly makes us more adaptable to our circumstances, more marketable to potential employees, more interesting to our friends, and more satisfied with our newfound knowledge and skills. The problem is that learning new things quickly is a struggle for many of us, and mastery can sometimes seem impossible. Working in flow accelerates learning. While in a flow state, we're no longer hindered by distractions, frustration, anxiety, and self-doubt. Instead, we're excited to learn the subject in front of us. We're fully attentive to it as everything else fades into the background. Moreover, as we learn this new knowledge or skill, we experience a positive feedback loop. The better our grasp of the subject, the more satisfied, confident, and happier we feel. These feelings, in turn, motivate us to continue until we've mastered the issue. Benefit number 4, heightened sense of happiness. Happiness has many definitions, but at its core, it's understood to be an emotional state characterized by joy and satisfaction. When we're happy, we feel fulfilled and content. It's not a fixed state. Our happiness fluctuates with our circumstances, expectations, and our emotional responses. But we'll be happier if our needs are met and we do things that align with our interests. Working in a flow state elevates this feeling. We can tackle the challenge in front of us without anxiety and feel accomplished and satisfied as we work. We enjoy what we're doing because it aligns with our interests, and importantly, we don't feel pressured or self-conscious while doing it. In this state, our inner critic and other internal and external distractions are made silent. Benefit number 5. Positive stress. Emotional stress is commonly thought to be a negative response to our circumstances. The demands placed upon us cause us to feel pressured, alarmed, and even fearful. Everyone experiences periods during which they feel stressed. Because of these negative implications, most people try to minimize their stress. But stress isn't always bad. It doesn't always hurt us. Stress can be highly beneficial in select circumstances. When we achieve flow, we often experience something called eustress. This is a form of stress that energizes us. When we confront stressors, we feel confident that we can overcome them. The pressure to perform is present, but rather than feeling anxious, we feel self-assured in our abilities. Benefit number 6, emotional control. All of us occasionally lose control over our emotions. We get angry when a driver cuts us off during our morning commute. We feel frustrated when a coworker fails to pull their weight. We feel dispirited when life burdens us with one fiasco after another. There's no shame in admitting that our emotions get away from us now and then, but we can learn to regulate them, and working in a flow state can help us do so. We feel focused, confident, and engaged in the zone. Rather than feeling like powerless victims of our circumstances, we trust our ability to cope, respond rationally and purposefully, and overcome. Benefit number 7, increased productivity. I noted above that working in flow offers us much more than just a boost in productivity, and I discourage fixating on this particular benefit, but it would be silly to ignore it. The fact is that research shows we're far more productive when we work in this state. The reasons are clear. When we experience positive emotions related to our actions, we perform better. We're happier, more confident, more creative, and more purposeful. This allows us to work more effectively and ultimately more productively. I'm not referring to the kind of productivity that pushes you to cross off dozens of items from your to-do list in record time. Instead, I'm talking about the kind where you're accomplishing something important to you. You're achieving something that aligns with your goals. Are you willing to go with the flow? There's a lot at stake. You stand to reap lifelong, transformative rewards by consistently learning to work in a flow state. Will you pursue this and learn to do so? At this moment, you may think that working in flow only applies to athletes, creatives, and select career paths, but that's incorrect. The reality is that you can benefit from getting in the zone in every aspect of your life.